I attempted to make this a recorded video, but it's just not working that way. So I'm going to go live and just give these tips out, and I might repost it later. But if you are a homeschool parent, or specifically my mom's, or if you are thinking about becoming a homeschooling your children, then I just want to give y'all some different tips. Because for me, I have searched high and low, especially at the beginning of this journey, and trying to find like different tips, tools, things of that nature to homeschool my children. And and it never really I can never find a video that truly just gave me all of the information that I was looking for, or I could never find a video that like really went into detail. So I wanted to just take the time to give y'all some different tips. The first thing I want to just highlight is make sure that you are, of course, like checking with your state. That's all of the basic information that when you Google, when you go search on YouTube or even TikTok, everybody is always talking about, oh, that's Baby Doll. Hey, girl. Everybody is always talking about, how like you can, or like to make sure that you check in with your state and stuff like that. And I just want to make sure that y'all are thinking about the stuff outside of that. So yes, check with your state, know the rules, regulations, all of that type of stuff. But also make sure that you are really wanting to educate your children, because when rules, regulations, all of that type of stuff. But also make sure that you are really wanting to educate your children, because when you choose to homeschool, you really are responsible for everything. I don't know why I was supposed to. Okay, yeah, when you are homeschooling, it's hot in here. I'm sitting in this car, y'all. Hold on, I gotta turn this down. But when you are choosing to homeschool your children, you are really responsible for everything. You are responsible for them learning, for them being active, for the food they eat, for everything. And it's really just on you. I did go into like paying for them to go into a facility. Some people call it like co-ops. I don't think that was beneficial, to be honest. I feel like I was more so paying for daycare, and that was never my goal. The goal was not to pay for daycare. Like the goal was to actually educate my kids and get assistance with the homeschooling. So I switched out and I actually removed them from going into a facility. Some of the other things that I found beneficial is, like I made the video before, is to have a printer. Like make sure that you have a printer, because worksheets is going to be your best friend. ChatGPT is going to be your best friend, like utilizing AI, all of those things. The other question that I always see is about curriculums, like what type of curriculum to choose and things like that. And I just want to highlight, like, it's okay to make your own curriculum. Now, again, every state is different, so you do have to identify like what type of things they want included. So for example, in the state of Texas, they want to make sure, thank you for liking that live, baby. So in the state of Texas, they want to make sure that you have like civics, you have your reading, your ELA, your math, things like that. So for me, I'm a little bit more in depth. So I made sure that I have ELA, I have math, I have religious studies. We do financial literacy, science, social studies. Like we cover a lot of different topics. And the way that I make sure that my mindset behind it is always to, if I was to ever be put back in a position where I had to send my children back to public school, I want to make sure that they are on track, or that they're even, more advanced or ahead of where I'm sending them back to. So for me, I went on to, tekes.org, and for each state is different, but you basically want to know what are the educational standards for your state that you are in. And so I did it per grade level, or for some of the subjects, I did like a period. So I would do like maybe second grade to 8th grade. And so it just varies as far as like what information I was pulling out. But essentially it's all the same no matter what grade you are choosing. You want to make sure that you are grabbing the information that's needed. So what is it that they're required to know? What is it that they need to know by the end of the year? Things of that nature. So I pulled that out to help me actually create a guideline of what it is that I needed them to learn throughout the year, on top of whatever it is that I wanted them to know, whatever it is that I wanted them to learn, etc., etc. So I think like the curriculum piece, you can go with traditional curriculums. Like you can go with, what is it? The, beautiful, bold and beautiful, big, that might be the stories, but whatever it is, like something beautiful. So like there's different curriculums that you can purchase, but for me, like my kids get bored with just doing the same thing over and over. I do use Khan as a supplement. So Khan Academy, you also have like Mia Academy, you have IXL. So it's also going to depend on your budget. I also believe that like homeschooling is not cheap, because you do have to invest in like your supplies, your tools. You have to invest in like different memberships. Now there are a lot of free resources, and I do recommend utilizing those free resources. One of the free resources that I enjoy using is the library. And not just for like the computers, books, or anything like that. But so most states have them. Here is different than it is in my hometown, because in my hometown we have like tech centers, but they're in the actual library. As to where here they're like, they have something called Tech Link, and so there's like an actual facility that's specific to where it has like the music equipment, the film equipment. It has like the heat press or the circuits. It has embroidery, so it has different things where they can be hand on. I like to use that stuff not just as a fine arts or creative arts, but I also utilize it for things like their life skills classes. So it's one of the things we work on is them knowing the functions of a business. And so when they are, creating their business plan, they're developing, okay, this is the type of business I want to have. Then we use the Tech Link like in conjunction with that, because we do things like them being able to make their own shirts or design their own logos on the computer or create commercials. Or right now they are getting ready to start a quote unquote internship, right, where they're able to go and record media at like for my company, for my job. And so there's a lot of different resources that you can use that kind of trickle over into different subjects. So let me see. So we talked about the library, we talked about Tech Link, we talked about curriculum. So what I do with that information. So let me go back a little bit. When I get that information from the schools or from the school's website or the district's website to know what it is that they need to learn, I go in and I use ChatGPT to help me define a curriculum for that. One of the other things, so the beautiful, I want to say it's called the Bold and Beautiful, or the Big and Beautiful, or Big Beautiful, or something like that. But with them, they do have some free resources on their website. And one of the free resources that I like to use for them is their assessments. So before we actually started our homeschool year, I did an assessment for like their math, their reading, things like that. What that did is that helps me identify, okay, what do they know? Do they know anything about, are they behind? Are they on grade level? Things like that. And so if they weren't on grade level on something, or they did not master something, then I went back. That's one thing I do want to say. Like you are like, you have to be okay with being humiliated when it comes to homeschooling. And what I mean by that, I mean it in different aspects, but one of the things I mean is that you might be thinking, oh, like, my children read on grade level, they do math on grade level, like, oh, they're smart. But smart to like what we see or what we know, or just knowing how to do certain things, is not the same as just being book smart. And so it's okay to go back. Like I found that there was certain subjects or certain things where it was like, okay, why aren't y'all grasping this? And I had to realize, like, I really do believe that the public school system has failed our children, or I'm gonna speak for myself, has failed my children. And so with that being said, I had to go back. Like I made the decision to say, on this subject, we might start from kindergarten all the way up. And what I find is if I go all the way back to like kindergarten, then I will find like they can breeze through a lot of that stuff. But I want to at least make sure that you're grasping it, make sure that you know it, that you're confident in it. So that has been a big thing, like going back. I find that I mostly have to go back to, like, so for my son, he's in 4th grade, so I'll go back to 3rd grade. For my daughter, she's in 6th grade, I'll go back to 5th grade. But there are times where I will cover different subjects that's even before then, because I want to make sure that you understand everything. I don't want to just move along, and I think that's what the public school system do, especially because, like, the whole No Child Left Behind and things like that. You have this thing where, it's just like, oh, I have to give you a grade, or I'm just going to give you a passing grade, and so forth. And I don't really care for that. So I made sure that, again, I'm not afraid to be humiliated and go back, or, and so forth. And then the concept, like the mindset around it. So one of the things when we first started, like when I did their assessment test to see where they were in the process, I noticed that they felt, like this goes back to the humiliation piece. They felt a little bit humiliated. Like they were like anxious about it. They were like, oh, I got that wrong. I don't know this. Hi, Golden Child. How are you today? So we're just talking about homeschooling. I'm just giving some tips as a homeschool mom, and just sharing some things about my experience and some things that I'm hoping is going to help other people, mostly because I did not receive that. Like when I go and do a Google search, it just tells you about all of the rules and all of those things, and I didn't, there was more to it. I know that there's more to it from my experience. So anyway, so when I did the assessments with them, I found that they were like, oh my God, I don't know this, or I know this part, but I don't know this. And like they would get really anxious, like they were afraid to get it wrong. And so one of the things that I had to really hone down on with them is like, it's okay if you get it wrong. Like this isn't about a passing or a failing, an A or a B or, an F, or getting an A or an F. This is about making sure that you know it. So one of the very first things that I approached with homeschooling was ensuring that they understood this isn't about pass or fail. This is about identifying what you know and what you do not know. Because what you don't know, let's attack that. Let's go ahead and learn that. Let's spend more time on that. The things that you do know, okay, I'm going to continue to test you on this as time go by, but I'm going to make sure that, we move on. Hey, Big Mama, how are you? Again, just talking about homeschooling and giving out tips. If y'all got questions, just drop them in the chat and I'll answer them. So that was one of the big things. Like, and that goes to like when you do the YouTube searches and the TikTok searches, and they talk about like deschooling and just like removing yourself from that space of having to do everything the same way that the public school systems do. That's a part of it to me. It's like that emotional intelligence, that making sure that you understand why we're doing this work, why you're getting a grade on it, or why we're spending more time on it. Some of the things that I found I had to spend a lot of time on is like writing, reading. And when I say writing, I don't mean just like writing to be able to express your thought. I mean, going into punctuations, understanding the concept of writing, the different stages of writing. And so, even though we do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, so like we don't follow the traditional school system. Like we go for 3 weeks, we take a week off, we go for 3 weeks, take a week off, and we do that year round. I use that 1 week off to like recuperate, to figure out, okay, this is what we're going to cover for those next 3 weeks. And the reason why I do it like that, and I do have some like books and curriculums that I am using, or I don't even really want to call them a curriculum. I have, I got into some homeschooling groups on Facebook. And I also got into like some buy nothing groups. And one of the buy nothing groups, the mom had like kids that were in the same grade level as my children. And from the state of Texas, they brung home all of their workbooks. So they brung home like their math, and it was nothing written in them. So it was like math, it was science, it was reading. So I have those. And then again, I remember I use my Khan, and I use the Big Beautiful, their resources. And then I'm good for just finding some worksheets online as well. And a combination of those things help me create my binders. So binders, the binders are going to be your best friend. Now you want to make sure you organize your binders. I was watching some YouTube video, and I found some, what is it called? Basically like a planner organizer. And so it had like, the grade books and the attendance and all of that. And so you don't have to, each state is different. Like in Ohio, you had to document how many hours they went to school. But in Texas, it's really like a free for all. It's like, how many hours they went to school. But in Texas, it's really like a free for all. It's like, plan on my children doing early college. And so at the age of 13, you're able to start taking college courses. So for example, we're going to go with Sophia Learning, where they can start taking college courses to go towards their degree. And so one of the things they're going to ask for is like your transcripts. And with homeschooling, yes, you can create a transcripts, you can give report cards. And so in their binders, I keep their birth certificate, I keep their withdrawal papers from school, I keep their grades, their attendance, the courses that we're using, their like logins. And I'm clearly outside, so I don't have the binders with me, but I'll show that to y'all. And then I also keep, what else did I keep in there? All of their worksheets. And I have dividers in there for each subject. And we do something called mastery tests. So for those 3 weeks, I teach, whatever the subject is that we're going to teach or we're going to cover. And then at the end of that 3rd week, I do what's called a mastery test. And so everything that we cover for those 3 weeks, I test them on that subject. I do repeat those mastery tests. So I do that each time. But then let's say after, at the end of each quarter, they'll get a large mastery test with all of that information. And like they have to test, on that stuff. Because now I'm checking for retention. I'm checking to see, did you actually retain the information that was given to you, that you learned? Is there something we need to go back and review, and so forth? And again, I'm going back to say the reason that I do this is because I think it's all foundational. I think that if they don't master a certain subject or a certain topic, and then I try to build on top of it, I find that they struggle with it. So that's the reason that I go back. What else? So the binders, again, binders is the best friend, because even if we're traveling, like, so for example, we're about to be traveling for a month, and they still have, like, we'll still be within our 3 weeks. So they are going to have work to do. I'm able to put like their packets in there. I'm able to give them independent work in there. Independent work. So sometimes, your schedule, so let me go back before I go into independent work. Your schedule matters. I understand that like everybody don't have the luxury of being able to homeschool. I work from home, and even when I do have to go into the office or go into the shelter, I'm able to take my children with me if I need to. So I am privileged in that space to be able to do that. However, I do want to say that that does not mean if you work a 9 to 5 that you can't homeschool, because with homeschooling, there's times where we have to do schooling at nighttime. Like I might work from home, but I might have a very busy day, and it's like, okay, we're going to do, we're going to do our lesson at nighttime or after practice or before practice or anything like that. And so independent work is also some fillers that I do. Now, I am not a fan of busy work. So independent work and busy work to me are two different things. Busy work is here, do this worksheet, work on this worksheet, go and, do this thing. Independent work is like me having them log into their Khan Academy. And so like with thank you for that heart. Hey, Cena, thank you for that heart me. So with Khan Academy, hi Daniel, thank you for joining in. So again, I'm just talking about homeschooling and going over like my process and giving some tips. If y'all got questions, just drop them in the chat and let me know. So again, independent work and busy work, two different things. So with independent work, so with Khan, I'm able to go in and put them actual like lessons in to say, okay, this is what I want you to focus on. This is what I want you to learn. This is what I want you to cover. And when I do that, I'm able to go and engage. Did they master it? Did they not master it? Is it something that they're struggling with? And so I find that type of work, more effective, because I can go back and monitor, did you actually do what you needed to do? If I give reading assignments as independent work, like, so they do have a reading log, and that's also in their binder, their reading log, and they have to sign off on those things. And so it's like, if they're reading, if I give them an assignment to read, or if I say, hey, you got to go read this book for 30 minutes, one of the things that they're required to do is write a book report on it. And so sometimes the book report is not about the whole book. It's just, you might have read 3 chapters, you might have read 4 chapters. Hi Sylvester, thank you for joining in. I'm just talking about homeschooling. If you're interested or if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. And so with that piece of it. When it comes to the book reports, you might be writing a book report on 2 chapters, 3 chapters that you just read, something of that nature. And I am making sure that the information is not redundant. I'm making sure that the information that you didn't just copy and paste whatever you just read inside of the book. So I'm going to ask like deeper thinking questions or critical thinking questions. So again, that's busy work. That's independent work. Independent work to me is something that I can go back and I can actually monitor. Independent work is something where I can look and say, okay, you did this, you grasped this, you didn't do this, you didn't grasp this. Busy work is like, hey, go do this worksheet. So going back to when I was paying for them to go into the facility, I was paying for them to go to a facility for 2 days a week. I started with 2 days a week because I'm like, okay, let me kind of get a feel for this. But truthfully, that was just me not being obedient, because that's not what God told me to do at all. He told me to homeschool, and I decided like, okay, I'm a homeschool, but I'm gonna also do, take this way out and get some extra assistance. That also allowed for me to, when I had to like go into work, or if I needed to go do trainings, or even if I just needed a reboot for myself, then those 2 days I was able to do so. However, I'm an observer, so I observed for 3 months before deciding to pull them out. And the first thing that kind of got to me was I felt like they were getting a lot of busy work. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're not getting busy work. Maybe they're just testing. Maybe they're just, trying to get an understanding of, where they are and so forth. So I started to like watch and gauge that. And so I requested a assessment. I asked about the information about their assessment. And so I'm like, did you assess them? If so, where are they and so forth? And the instructor or the owner of the program, she could not give me an answer as to, them actually being assessed. And she's like, oh, we're going to do it on this day. And so that day came, they never did it. The day came around again, they never did it. And so I was like, okay, let me figure this out. Let me have a sit down with them. Again, maybe it's something I'm missing. I get it, like trying to run a business, and I was observing like you're trying to run this business on top of hiring staff and, educate and all of these other things. And so I had to sit down with the owner of the facility, and I'm just like, I gave her the floor. I let her talk. Now, as we all know, I'm a talker. I can talk. I'm an organizer. I will, I'm really on it when it comes to certain things, especially my children. And so I went in, and she was expressing like, she just talking, and she's like, oh, they're operating at an 80%, and we don't just go off of their grades. We also go off of, their attitude and all of this. And then she gets to giving me all of these worksheets, and then she's like, yes, and this and that, and they're struggling in this area, they're doing it in this area. And so I'm just letting her go, but I really can tell when somebody is blowing smoke up my ass, and she was blowing smoke up my ass for sure. And so I'm just, again, letting her have it. I'm letting her, get the information. But what and it was some good out of it. Let me say this, because she was able to help me identify like, oh, they're, struggling in these points, so they need some extra attention in these points or in these areas. And so, again, blowing smoke up my ass. So I'm like, okay, I do, I operate a little differently. Like, I have binders. Let me go home and get my binders, because I live like just a few minutes away from the facility. So I asked my questions to her. She gave me the answers. I left. I went to go get my binders. I came back. I laid the binders out. I'm like, okay, here's our curriculum. Like, here's what we're focused on. Here's the different things we're covering. Here's the different topics. Here's their assessments. Here's how I know, where they're behind grade level and where they're on grade level at. Like, this is, all of these things. And so she called her staff over there, and she was like, oh yeah, you see how she's doing this? And so what I realized is that they were not equipped. This was more so like a daycare setting. This was more so, and it's not that they're not intelligent, that they don't know. It's not any of those things. It's just, it wasn't a homeschooling program is what I was receiving. Like, this is more so after school program. This is more so like, daycare. And so I'm just like, I'm paying over $1,000 a month just for my kids to be in daycare. I don't need daycare. Like, that's not what I need. I'm at home most of the time. I can watch my own damn kids. So it was like, I don't need daycare. I needed assistance with homeschooling. So I took them down to 1 day a week. I didn't just pull them out, because I can be real, like, when I'm not fucking with it, I'm not fucking with it. So it'd be like, I can be real, like, give it back. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, and really far back. And so I'm like, okay, Alicia, take your time. Like, don't just be impulsive with your decision making. Like, really go through your decision making criteria. Take time to, decide on what you want to do. Make sure that you're doing what's best for your children. You're not just moving off of emotion and so forth. And so I did that. And so I pulled back for a bit, and I went and I took them down to 1 day per week. And my last straw, the kids came out and they're like, Ma, I don't know. Like, I'm not feeling it. Like, this, she was yelling. We not really, like, I feel like we're not learning. Like, they're giving us the busy work like you told us not to. But what really got me when they were like, she told us to come in and tell you that we did assessments. Don't tell you that we just played all day, because she didn't want to hear your mouth. And I was like, sorry, we're done. Well, I didn't even say sorry. I'm just like, we're done. Like, thank you for the opportunity. We're done. And it was very brief. And they haven't been back. And so we've been at that point, or since then, we've just been, fully homeschooling. So I shared that story to say, if you're going to go with like a co-op or sending your kids into a facility, for whatever reason that you are choosing, don't just vet them, because I vetted this facility. I went through, I asked all of the right questions. I did a walkthrough. The setup was amazing. The facility was amazing. They had all of the right answers. The instructor or the owner of the program is, she has a master's in education. She's been a school teacher before. So, like, again, all of the right answers. I vetted, but also observe. So you might vet and you might put them in this program, but also observe as much as you can. Observe, are they actually learning? Make sure it's aligning with what it is you want your children to learn. Make sure that you're giving them, because it got to the point where I was even giving them assignments. Like, here's the writing assignments we're working on. Here is the spelling words that we have. Here is our curriculum for the week. Like, things like that. And then I just realized it really wasn't aligning, and I made the decision to pull out. So I say that to say, if you're going to choose to send them in, again, just make sure you vet, but also make sure that you observe. Make sure it's worth it, because that stuff is not cheap. What I do find is that memberships. So we have a YMCA membership, and what I like about the YMCA is that they also have other programming. Now, I will say, because when I signed up for it, I did not realize that you pay for the membership, but the other programs that they have, you also have to pay for that as well. They do have something like, if you make under a certain amount, and it doesn't even matter if you make under a certain amount, you can apply for it no matter how much you make, but based off of how much you make, that's how they'll dictate how much your membership is. And so when I originally applied, it was before I got my raise. So instead of paying a $105, I pay $70 a month. But then I actually have to do pay for the other like programs they have. So that's good, because they have like STEM programs. They have different like physical education. They have like swim. They have all of these different programs that the kids can participate in. Now, my children do football and cheer, but that season is getting ready to come to an end. So then we're going to look at like volleyball. We were going to do volleyball for the fall season, but again, we're about to be traveling for a month, so I'm going to just do that when we come back. But the privilege to that is, when you have a YMCA membership, you can go in any state. So like, any place there's a YMCA, you can still go there. So where we're going to be at for that month, we're able to still go to the YMCA. But again, I'm not going to enroll them in programming there. I'm just going to allow them to go. They also have childcare at the YMCA. So it's 12 hours per week. So if you're like, okay, I just want to go and go to the gym, or I want to sit here in one of these rooms and do some extra work or whatever, you can give your children productive work. Or if you're going to give them busy work or independent work, again, my preference is independent work. And you can allow supervising them is, again, they just have that available. What else? So I talked about busy work, independent work, memberships. I am considering investing in an IXL membership, just because I like some of the information that I was seeing on their site, or some of the subjects that they cover on their site. I did find another tutor, so I'm going to do it differently. I'm not afraid to invest my money into it now. It's just like, I have to be obedient in this season. So, but I did find another tutor where they have, They also teach Spanish because I want them to learn multiple languages. So the languages that we're working on is Spanish and Mandarin. And so this instructor, they have Spanish. So I'm going to work with this company to do Spanish as well as to do ELA and math. And it's more so like in the tutoring aspect. So I'm going to go the tutoring route and have them do certain amount of sessions per month versus like, okay, you're going to spend 2-4 days with them. And that was the other thing. They were 8 hours in those facilities. And I just felt like that's no different than traditional schooling, because now you're spending 8 hours to, like, you're not learning for 8 hours. And I know that just from working with them at home. Like, we get through our homeschooling day and maybe about 4 hours. It just depends on what we're covering. There are times where if like they're doing deep learning, I'll make them spend like 45 minutes to an hour on one subject. Breaks is another thing. So again, not being like traditional school, like they can sit in their room, they can turn the music on depending on what subject they're doing or what they're doing. And they're allowed to take a break. Like if they are getting tired with the information, they just get up, go take you 5 minutes, tell Alexa to set a timer for 10-15 minutes, whatever. I'm fine with stopping. Separating mom and teacher is another thing that I've had to do, and that part can be difficult because I will say I have not had the experience of like, if Johnny had 3 apples, like I haven't had to do that. Like they're very intuitive. They ask questions. They engage. If they don't understand something, they, get clarification. They say it. They're not afraid to let me know when they're wrong. So that works. But I also had to set the tone for that. I'm very assertive and like I can be aggressive at times. And so I had to make sure that, I separated that with my children, with me educating my children and with me, being mom. So it's like, as mom, it might be like, stop playing. Like, you got me messed up. But as teacher, it's like, okay, let's get back on track, And so I just find the words that I use, the way I say things, like my mom used to always tell me, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it that matters. And so I find that to be very effective throughout this process. So just separate the two. Like, separate the two. If you need a breather, go and take a breather. If you get overwhelmed, because I will not say like, oh, this is just the easiest. It's just all rainbows and butterflies, because it's not. And it really can get, it can get irritating sometimes, if I'm being honest. And so don't be afraid to like take your break. Hey Piper, how are you? So yeah, it can get irritating sometimes. So make sure you take your break. Like make sure you fall back sometimes and you take that step back. And for me, that might look like we might be on a 3-week on, and I might be like, you know what, we're going to take 3 days off. We're not going to do this for 3 days, and I'm going to go back and regroup. And so you just have to like really, like, emotional intelligence is a real thing. And you as a parent have to have that as well when you are homeschooling your children. You're not going to know everything. So if I'm saying that the public school, I don't have faith in a public school system and I think they're failing my children, what you think they did for me? And, I have some college. I'm currently in school right now to get my master's. So it's like it's not that I'm far from, you get what I'm saying? Like I graduated top 5 in my high school, but still there's things that I don't know. So knowing how to find the answer to things are going to be extremely important as well. If you don't know something, if they ask you something, I make it a habit of being like, okay, let's find this out together. Let's learn this together. Let's explore this together. And we figure it out together. And then I go in and I create a worksheet for it and so forth. Another thing, take heed to whatever their interests are. If they have an interest in something, so like they might say, hey, like for example, my son came and he was like, okay, I want to learn about Tupac's mom, Afeni Shakur. They wanted to learn about Hurricane Katrina. They wanted to learn about like different bodies of water, things that we will already be like some of those things we will already be covering. But I'm very intentional about writing those things down. And going back to teaching. And then let me see, because I've been talking for a long time. So let me see, what's something else? Museums. There are free museums. So for example, we did the health museum. That was free. We have the NASA Center here, the NASA Museum, and those I actually got tickets from. I'm just rambling. You could come over here if you want. I got tickets to. I'm on live. What's wrong? I got tickets to I Love You More. I'll be over there in a second.
You got tickets to what?
But not Rod Wave, move. She want to go to a Rod Wave concert. I'm gonna get the tickets, but I'm not telling her I'm gonna get the tickets. That's her favorite artist. That's okay. That's a whole nother conversation. But so what was I about to say? Oh, NASA. So those tickets I actually got for free from work, but mostly all of the museums, you can like go on their website and see like what are their free days, or they have something called homeschool days. Like I Fly, they that's not a museum, but they do like the simulator of skydiving. They have something called homeschool day. The aquariums have homeschool days, and it's where they like give you either extreme discount or you get like it's free and you just have to pay for parking, things like that. So for example, we did the health museum, but here's what I do for the museums. If I know we're going to a museum, I align it with whatever subject that we're supposed to be learning about. So for example, when we did the health museum, health is a subject that we covered. So I made sure that we went and I created a worksheet. I used ChatGPT. I let them know that, okay, we're going to the health museum. Here's the things we're going to see. Here's the stuff that I want to cover for them. Thank you for those taps. I appreciate you. Here's the things that I want to cover at the museum. Here's what I want them to learn, and we broke it down into like 3 different pages. So in the beginning, they had to like go in and decide like, okay, these are some my hypothesis, like this is what I'm thinking is going to take place. What do you think the health museum is going to be about? What you think you're going to learn here? When you get there, when you find a heart, identify this. Like it was different activities for them to do. So they did some pre museum work. When we got to the museum, they were able to run around, have fun, play just like the rest of the kids, but it was interactive. They had to pull out their worksheets and work through it. And then when we left, they also had some like tests. They had some information they had to fill out, like they had to ask questions to the staff. There was some like review questions, and then on their mastery test that I told y'all about earlier, they had questions from that field trip on there. So I make the museums interactive, but again, I make it a learning experience as well. So I think that's it for now. So like all in all, AI is going to be your best friend. Visit those websites like to get the educational standards. That I can't stress enough, because if you were to ever have to send your babies back into a public school setting, you do not want them to be behind. That binder, I cannot stress enough, keep record. No, it's not required for you to keep record by the state, but keep record. Why? Because when you go, if you're ever called out on it, if somebody get in their feelings and you get a call or a visit or a knock on the door, if you need to send your kids back into school, you're not putting them in a bad situation. You're putting it to space like, hey, no, let me lay this out for you. This is what we did. This is, what we've covered. Here's where they are. They're on grade level. They're not on grade level, like whatever. This is what we did. This is, what we've covered. Here's where they are. They're on grade level. They're not on grade level, like whatever. You headphones. So cross your T's and dot your I's. That's going to be a big thing. But yeah, so that binder, making sure those standards are in order, staying organized. Don't pay for things unless you absolutely like need to pay for them, and get a printer. And if you are somebody who are using the so for example, I have an instant ink. I do find this beneficial. So with what do I have? What kind of printer I have? A Canon? I think it's a Canon, and it's something called, it's an HP. It's an HP printer, and it has instant ink. And so I pay like $16 a month for it. But if my paper run low, they automatically mail me paper. If my ink run low, they automatically mail me ink. The only thing is, if you don't pay that subscription, they're gonna turn your ink off and you won't be able to print. But I pay for like 500 pages per month because I print a lot. Like for example, with us getting ready to go, we're on a break right now. Even though they did a test today, we're on a break, but we start back on the 25th, and then we're going to be out of town for about 3 weeks. And so I prepared their binders for that entire time frame, which again, that was a lot of printing. So just print. If you got workbooks and you don't want to and you have multiple children and you only want to buy one copy of them instead of buying 2 workbooks, that's another way that the printer come in handy, because you could scan those pages and make copies of it, and then that helps. I think that's all I got for y'all. I'm done talking. I'm tired of talking. So thank y'all for joining. Thank you for the daily heart me's. Thank you for the taps and all of the great stuff. I hope this was beneficial to somebody, and I'll post it so it lives forever, because I think these are some good tips, and these are all things that I could not find. Even now, when I go and search on YouTube or TikTok or anywhere else, I'm unable to find this type of information. I'm sure there's more that I'll think of. I'm sure that I'll eventually make an ebook or something about it, but in the meantime, take this video. Y'all be great on purpose.